Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome back to the set of You Say Maize, I Say Blue, the first episode of 2009, Danny. Can you believe it? We've been here 3 years now.
Chris, we were just talking before the show. You and I have been hosting since 2006. We're seniors now. We took this over at the end of our freshman year, so it's been a long run. This is it, though.
Legs are getting a bit tired, right?
4 more months, and it's time to pass the torch on to a new
we'll see who it is.
Crop of producers and hosts. We'll see who that's going to be.
Well, anyway, we still got to talk some sports, though, right? It's what we do best. Danny, Sass, Chris, Cichon, you know us. Danny, you can go ahead and say Maize. I'm going to say Blue, as in, get this. There was a sighting of blue sky in Ann Arbor today, Tuesday the 13th. There was. I'm write it down, log it out. We'll only get a couple more of those this month, probably.
You know,
so,
Chris, I saw some sun as well. It's still like 4 degrees outside.
Oh, yeah.
But
that's generous, but...
So be it. Chris, you can go ahead and say Blue. I'm going to say Maize, as in I am amazed that you and I are sitting here talking sports on American Idol. New judges, new talent. Tell me you're not excited. I didn't
even know it was on, Danny.
I know you're excited. He did know it's on. We watch Idol together just about every Tuesday and Wednesday night throughout the year. That's Chris and I. We love it. We're not afraid to admit it here on You Say Maize, I Say Blue. But we're going to get things started with some football. Chris, Battle of the Birds, the Eagles and the Cardinals. Surprise, obviously, in the NFC Championship game. We saw these two teams play on Thanksgiving Day, and it was not a matchup that anyone really cares about or remembers. And at the time, we certainly didn't think that that would be a preview
of the NFC
Championship game. Lo and behold, that game's going to be played in the desert. What are you looking at?
Well, this is a couple hot teams here. I mean, you got some hot birds. You got the Cardinals won 3 in a row. Philadelphia's won 6 out of 7. They look unstoppable on their way to the Super Bowl here. Cardinals, I mean, how have they gotten this done? I mean, they were so bad looking. They looked so horrible towards the end of the season. And then, Wizenhunt got in the locker room and said, guys, we're going to have one hell of a week of practice here. We're getting ready for these playoffs because we got to do some things. It's not good enough just to get there. And for a second-year coach, I just totally admire that from Wizenhunt, a former offensive lineman himself. And, man, that's where they won it in the trenches.
The thing with Arizona that was always a little bit puzzling is that they were one of those mystery teams who some games would just lay complete and total eggs. You know, they'd go east. They were 0-5 on the East Coast this year. They would go east, and whether it be in New York and Philadelphia and New England and just absolutely get slaughtered like they did in those 3 games. And yet, somehow they were able to go into Carolina, again on the East Coast, a place they lost to in the regular season, and just play great, fundamentally sound football. I know Jake Delhomme helped them a little bit by throwing 5 picks and fumbling away another one.
Yeah, he didn't play so great.
But Arizona showed up. And the fact that they could get that fired up and play in a way on the road that they didn't play all regular season, Chris, they're home now.
Yeah.
And at home, this is a very, very good 3-5 on the road, a lot better at home, 6-2 at home in Phoenix. It's a good football team at home.
Now
I think they have a bit of an advantage against the Philadelphia team.
Really?
Keep in mind, Chris, this is a Philadelphia team that, for all intents and purposes, in Week 16, played a must-win game against the Washington Redskins, scored 3 points.
Okay, they're still in the playoffs. What's that matter?
They snuck in through the back door. They haven't been playing perfect football. Dallas pretty much gifted them a game.
They beat the world champs pretty convincingly in a really hard-fought game on Sunday.
The world champs without Plaxico. And with Eli throwing to nobody.
Wide receivers don't matter in January, Danny. Wide receivers do not matter in January.
Plaxico pretty much won the Giants a Super Bowl.
Let me tell you the guys that are going to matter in this game, okay, for the Cardinals and Eagles. Their names are Levi Brown, Deuce Latui, Lyle Senline, Reggie Wells, and how about Mike Gandy?
And that's the offensive line right there.
That's Arizona's offensive line. They must protect Kurt Warner. He's 59 years old. The guy gets hit by this Philadelphia defense, and he's going to crack. Plus Warner against that Eagles secondary, one of the best in the in the league.
4 touchdowns for Byron Westbrook last time out. 4 touchdowns for Donovan McNabb last time out. Cardinals defense is going to have to show up, figure out a way to contain McNabb's receiving core, and that great system of backs, whether it's Westbrook or Buckhalter. We'll move on.
Yeah, to the AFC, and this is the matchup I like personally best. I mean, this is one that I just love. If you love football, if you like smash mouth football, defensive football, 6-3 in the snow, in the 10-degree cold, this is what it's all about. Ravens and the Steelers. AFC North matchup, which is pretty impressive. Says a lot about their division there. This is, like I said, it's going to be a classic game, Danny. What are you looking forward to most?
Well, Chris, they always say it's very tough to beat a team 3 times in a football season.
That's what they're going to try and do.
This is going to be the 3rd time these two teams have gone head-to-head. The first time was 23-20 in overtime in favor of the Steelers. Second time was 13-9. Some of you may remember Santonio Holmes' catch. Was he in the end zone? Wasn't he? They ruled it a touchdown after a review.
Yeah.
Ball game over. Big Ben, huge drive. I mean, that was that. Just one drive, 1 touchdown in the game. That being said, I'm looking for, obviously, when these two teams meet, you're going to see smash-mouth defense. You're going to see 2 quarterbacks who are probably going to struggle, obviously. That front 7 and that secondary in Baltimore is just fantastic.
Are eaten up.
Roethlisberger never plays particularly great football against the Ravens, yet somehow he always finds a way to get it done.
He wins.
And
that's what a quarterback does.
Flacco, who's been surprisingly efficient, not
Joe
necessarily,
Cool, right?
not necessarily putting up great stats, But the one thing about Joe Flacco that I like, Chris, is that he throws a great deep ball. Yeah. And you can always say, yeah, Derek Mason and Mark Clayton aren't exactly, ideal deep threats for him. But he can throw the football, and these guys can catch the football. He doesn't need, a T.O. or a Moss or even a Hines Ward, to drop balls into. Yeah. He has an okay system of possession receivers. He has a big tight end, and he has, multiple running backs. Whether you want to hand the ball off to McLean, whether you want to go to McGahee, he has options back there with him. That offense needs to figure out a way to pretty much keep Pittsburgh's off the field. I have a feeling whichever defense is more rested towards the end of that game is going to have a huge advantage.
Yeah, I think whoever protects the football the most in this game wins. Whoever can run the ball, establish the run the best will win. Here's the thing, though. Baltimore has played 16 straight weeks. Those legs are very tired this time of the year. And so I think that's going to make the difference in this game. And plus, I'm also looking at Big Ben. You said it. He doesn't necessarily put up the numbers that you look for, but he wins the games. And that's all that counts. And I think that's going to be the difference. Big Ben versus this Ravens defense. Who wants it more? And I think you're going to see Big Ben carry his team through, Chris, just like he did last week.
I would also like to say, keep an eye on special teams in this game. Obviously, Pittsburgh special teams has been a little bit maligned throughout the regular season. They've been back and forth with punters. They had nothing brewing on kick returns or punt returns all year.
And the Ravens are very good.
Lo and behold, last week against San Diego, they took a punt to the house. When you can get a special teams touchdown in a playoff game, it's a huge advantage. And the Ravens, obviously, defensive touchdown, special teams is their thing. Matt Stover, very, very solid kicker. Obviously not easy to go into Heinz Field and kick. But
I don't know if kicking's going to be even in the forecast on Sunday night there.
Stover, one of the two original Ravens with Ray Lewis over there.
Been in the league since 1990,
Still around from that Super Bowl team.
Part of the 90 Giants with Bill Parcells. That's experience you want there.
Absolutely. That's a kicker in the playoffs.
Danny, aside from the teams, there's also coaches. A lot happened in the world of head coaches in the NFL, and we're going to just talk about that a little bit in the carousel. You got Tony Dungy retiring earlier this week. Hall of Fame coach. He's definitely going to be there in 5 years, if you ask me. And then, you got Jim Caldwell stepping in for him.
Yep.
Then you got some rookies coming in. Josh McDaniels going to go to the Broncos. He's coming
from
over
New
from the Patriots. Also, you got Mangini going to the Browns. He's not a rookie anymore, but he's one of those Belichick guys. What head coaching job? There's 4 open right now.
I think the biggest vacancy right now, in my opinion, is obviously the Jets job, because this is the team that's
obviously.
I know I say this as a football fan more than anything else, but this is the team that's been forced to kind of play second fiddle to the Giants. And when the Giants go and win the Super Bowl, Woody Johnson goes out and pretty much panics and brings in Brett Favre. And he had to.
Right.
When you're sharing a stadium and sharing a city and sharing essentially a fan base and a region with another team, you have to figure out a way to bring in attention. Get yourself on the back page of the Post, get yourself in the New York Times. However you want to get yourself publicity, you have to do something. Right now, it's going to be the hiring of a coach. Last year it was bringing in a quarterback. This year it's going to be a coach.
And it's funny, you mentioned the Giants before. Yeah. I think it's really good that you mentioned that, because the Giants are out, so that means Spagnuolo can sign this week with the Jets, and that sounds like the best fit right there. And if that happens, then almost, the pieces start to fall together, because then you got the Lions job over here in the Midwest, and it looks like then Jim Schwartz from Tennessee, the defensive coordinator there, is going to come and take over that job with the Lions. Maybe then Leslie Frazier goes to a place like Kansas City, who just got Scott Pioli in as well as their head of football operations. So, this carousel just keeps continuing. That Lions job, that I saw a poll on TV today. Does the Lions job have to be the worst job available?
Now, Chris, obviously, can I call you a Lions fan even or no?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay.
Lions faithful.
Okay. As a member of the Lions faithful, who do you want to see get that job?
You know what? I like Schwartz, because he stops the run and he likes to run the football, and that's exactly what you need. Here in Detroit, they try and bring in guys like Mike Martz and Marty Mornwood to come in and bring offensive schemes and passing routes. Forget all that. Line up, hit somebody, and let's play some defense. That's Detroit football. Nobody's done it for 50 years.
Okay, who do you draft?
Who do I draft?
Yeah.
I don't draft Sam Bradford. I learned that over this winter break we had, because I don't.
Do you go after Stafford? Do you take a quarterback, or do you go? You know
what I do? I trade the #1 pick. I get me a handful of 3rd and 4th rounders, and I totally rebuild the offensive line from the ground up.
For what it's worth, I think the most interesting job out there, obviously, was the Browns job. With Mangini stepping in there, he inherits what could be a pretty good situation. That team has talent. They have decent quarterbacks. They have receivers. They have an okay defense. Not as bad as their 4-12 record indicated, especially after what they did last year.
He's an Ohioan.
That team could be going in the right direction. We'll see.